Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Hopefully the audio sounds good. This is my first live stream with my new microphone, so hopefully the audio sounds great. Let me know in the chat how it sounds. But welcome to the weekly live chat. I've been trying to do this every single Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I've been keeping up with it pretty good. It is November 17th, 2021. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, but before we get into that, real quick, I like to say this in the beginning of my live streams, or at least the live chat. Right now, we have 1,525 subscribers, guys. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already liked the stream, make sure to like the stream. And I think that pretty much does it for everything. It's a little quiet. How quiet is it? Is it all right how it is? Because otherwise I got to try to mess with this and I don't want to mess it up. So hopefully it's fine for now. I have the audio maxed out on here. I can move it a little bit closer maybe. That'll help. I don't want it to be too loud though. When I talk too close to it, it's kind of loud. So we have a lot to talk about. Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez was last Saturday. UFC 269 is coming up. There's been a lot of talk of Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about. And you guys know, I just put your questions in the chat. We'll get to them. If you're watching this replay and there's something you wanted to ask, just comment it down below and I'll talk about it next week or in an upcoming video. What's going on, CT? What's going on, French Fries? What's going on, Sean Johnson? Sounds great. Guys, you guys know how long I've wanted to get this microphone. This has been my dream microphone. I finally said, you know what? I'm getting it, and the audio upgrade. I mean, you guys know, if you guys come to these live streams every week or some of the fight live streams, you heard me talk about the channel, you know it's my dream to have the best quality. I already have the best video quality as far as MMA YouTubers go. I know the live stream isn't the best quality, but that's just the nature of doing a live stream just because of the way it works. But is there anyone else in MMA posting YouTube videos in 4K? I don't think so. At least not that I've seen and in the quality that I've seen. And I've looked just out of curiosity. So now I have audio to match it, and I know my old microphone wasn't bad, but this setup that I now have is, going to last me basically forever. There's no way I'm ever going to have to replace this microphone. I always had an issue with my old mic. I've talked about it a couple times. The cord for some reason had an issue where sometimes I'd go to record my audio and it wasn't working. Sometimes I would start the streams and the audio wasn't working for some reason. I had to disconnect it or end the stream. But now that I have this microphone, hopefully, it helps grow the channel some more. And hopefully you guys can appreciate the upgrade. I know it might not sound like much when you just listen to a video, but when you compare the audio quality between my old microphone and this microphone, it's crazy how good it is. So CT says, did you hear? And by the way, CT, you've literally been, I know I've said this a couple times to you, but you've been here sub 50 subscribers. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. It's a massive like hump to go over 1,500. We're making our way to 2,000, which is just insane to me. I cannot believe it. Did you hear that Usman versus Edwards is in the works? I did not see that reported. Who reported that? But I did say in my recent video about Edwards and Masvidal getting canceled, I thought the UFC would go ahead and try to rebook that, or not rebook it. I thought they would just move forward and give Edwards the total shot, just purely based on the fact that, a lot of people like to shit on Leon Edwards. They like to shit on him pretty badly, but it's not really his fault. It's not his fault at all. I've talked about this in length before. He was supposed to fight Woodley. Couldn't fight Woodley, and it wasn't his fault. He couldn't get over to the United States. He lost that opportunity. Then he gets strong-armed into taking the Khamzat Chimaev fight, but he takes it 3 times. Takes it in December. Now, he pulled out in December, but apparently Khamzat was sick as well. Then Khamzat pulls out in January. Then Khamzat pulls out in March. He takes a short-notice replacement. Not a lot of people, especially on Leon Edwards' level, wants to take a short-notice replacement. Takes a short notice replacement against Bilal Muhammad. Looks great up until the eye poke. Then, I think, what was there talk of after that? I can't remember. I don't remember what the talk was after the Bilal fight, but there was some talk of different fights. I think the UFC may have tried to put Usman versus Leon Edwards together for short notice for UFC 261. Not 100% sure on that one. I can't really remember. There's so much stuff going on. Then Leon takes the Nate Diaz fight, absolutely outworks Nate Diaz, and gets rocked in the 5th round, and that's all anybody talks about. Then he finally, people talk, oh, he's ducking Masvidal, this and that, and I never believed that for 1 second. He takes the Masvidal fight, and now Masvidal pulls out on him. So I think, in my opinion, I get it, and I've talked about it before. He doesn't have the highest quality names on his resume. He has a big win streak, but it's not the best names. But he deserves this title shot, guys. I mean, he's been willing to take any and every fight. I don't know why the fans continue to just shit on him over and over and over again when he's taking great fights. It's not like he's not ducking anyone. I mean, Colby fought only Tyron Woodley. Only Tyron Woodley since his loss to Usman. Stoppage loss to Usman. He got another title shot. So I think we can, give Leon Edwards a pass and let him fight Usman again, in my opinion. But let me know who reported that. I'm curious. Sean Johnson says, sounds great. It's a wonderful Wednesday to get stoned and talk about MMA. Awesome, man. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you, Sean. Thank you. Blaze Sport, what's going on? How do you think Usman will beat Edwards, and how badly do you think Edwards will lose? I think, to be honest, I think Leon Edwards can beat Usman. I would pick Usman, but Leon Edwards, if I remember the first fight correctly, it was a long time ago, but if I remember that first fight correctly, Usman pretty much out-grappled Leon. And I believe that Leon has been working on that grappling. He had to have. He's seen Usman at the top of the division. You look at the rest of the division, whether it be Usman, Colby, Gilbert, Khamzat now, who Leon had 3 scheduled fights with. What is all their strengths? It's takedowns, it's grappling, it's wrestling. So Leon Edwards, if that's not the main thing he's working on, then I don't know who his coach is, because that's what he needs to be working on. Now, his striking is far superior to Usman, but it's a matter of, can he let his hands go with Usman's takedown threat? So I think it's a compelling fight. If I had to pick right now, gun to my head, I'd go Usman by decision. I don't think Usman's stopping him, even if he does out-grapple him. So I'd go Usman decision, and I think it would be... I don't think it'd be crazy dominant. I think Leon would have some moments in that fight. So to answer your question, Leon has a chance to win. I think Usman will win by decision, and his grappling would be a factor. But we've seen Masvidal's grappling look good in that second fight. Not his grappling necessarily, but his takedown defense and his, anti-wrestling. And I think Leon Edwards knows he has to work on that to win fights. Nice steady growth over 1,500. That's fast. I know. I think we're 7 months into the channel right now. So 7 months, 1,500 subscribers. I'll take it. We're almost to 2,000. Yeah, Adesanya is the only person I've seen using 4K in MMA. Yeah, there's not very many people that does 4K videos. If they make Usman versus Edwards, Masvidal versus Colby, and Khamzat versus Burn, what would be next for Luque? That's a great question. Let me pull up the rankings. Usually before I do this, I pull up the rankings just to see. So if they do Usman versus Leon, Masvidal versus Colby, Khamzat versus Burns. That's tough. That's tough for Vicente, because Wonderboy has a fight with Bilal. Chiesa, he just fought, and Chiesa has a fight with Sean Brady. I guess Sean Brady, if Sean Brady beats Michael Chiesa this weekend, I think that'd be a good matchup for him. Other than that, he's just going to have to wait it out for one of these winners, losers, somebody, which sucks for Luque. I mean, also, I think Wonderboy's fighting Bilal, and even if Wonderboy wins, I mean, Wonderboy already beat the brakes off Vicente. I was actually there live for that, as I like to mention whenever I'm talking about a fight that's live. So he's really in a bad spot. I mean, not a bad spot, but you get my point. Who is Jeff Neal fighting? Jeff Neal has a fight coming up. Is it against Santiago Ponzinibbio? He could fight the winner of that, but still, that's a massive step back. I think it's probably going to be Sean Brady if Sean Brady beats Michael Chiesa. I think that's probably best. Or he waits for a late notice replacement or a loser or winner of one of these other fights. But it's going to be a bit, Usman versus Leon isn't going to happen probably till at least spring, best case scenario. Gilbert versus Khamzat, probably the winner going to fight for the next title shot. So, you really start getting in tricky territory. I hate when that happens to guys who are really good. Guys, keep filling up the chat with questions, please. Keep filling up the chat with questions. Probably a Nate Diaz fight or Masvidal. Yeah, they could make the Nate Diaz fight. Do you think Nate Diaz will fight in December? I have a feeling Nate Diaz is not fighting in December. The UFC would have already announced it by now. They're already selling tickets. It's still possible, as anything is possible. But I think the UFC would want to have announced it by now because Nate Diaz would help sell tickets. 170 division is turning into a desert. Edwards only gets a shot because the other top 10 already got worked by Usman. And Leon's already got worked by Usman too. It was a long time ago. But Leon got worked by Usman too. But what annoys me about the welterweight division, I've been complaining about it a lot on this channel, especially early in this channel. Why are none of the top guys fighting each other? I mean, other than Usman, Colby has not fought Gilbert Burns. He's not fought Leon Edwards. Correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just going off the top of my head. I don't believe Colby's fought anyone in the top 10 other than Usman. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't think Colby's fought anyone in the top 10 other than Usman. Gilbert Burns, he's fought Wonderboy at least. That was one of the first, top welterweight fighting another top welterweight. Leon Edwards has not fought anyone in the top 10 right now other than Usman before he was champ, I'm pretty sure. Vicente Luque has at least fought Wonderboy and Chiesa, so that's 5 and 6, but he's 1-1 in those fights. It just seems like, and that's crazy to get to number 5 and like barely any of these guys have fought each other. It's so annoying. I hope we finally start to see some of these guys matched up with each other. Usman versus Edwards is not in the works. They just said Leon will fight for the title. Well, I guess technically that could be it's in the works. I don't know. There's a lot of coded language going on sometimes with reporting. But I'm sure, barring some unforeseen circumstances, I think we will get Usman and Leon next. I think the UFC knows that it's the right thing to do for Leon Edwards. Edwards, the new champ. That would be crazy. Did you hear the UFC is targeting Yan versus Rakic? Do you like that idea? I did see people speculating about that. I haven't seen anyone super well-respected or reliable report it. But I think that makes sense, especially if Yuri's getting the next shot. What is Rakic just going to sit around? I know supposedly Anthony Smith wanted the rematch, but I think Anthony Smith is injured because originally I heard Anthony Smith versus Alexander Rakic in December, but then Anthony Smith was injured. Colby win over Woodley in 2020 is still better than beating RDA in 2019 or Nate in 2021. I'll disagree with you as far as RDA goes. I think RDA is a lot better than people give him credit for. He's lost to the elite of the elite at welterweight, and he's really lightweight. He just went up there to, just a change of weight class because he had lost in lightweight. Guys, now that we got quite a bit of people in here, let me know. What do you guys think of the new audio quality? And don't forget to like the stream if you haven't already. If Tate wins, there's a chance she's next for Amanda. I think if Miesha Tate wins this Saturday, she is undoubtedly fighting for the title next. And I think that's the reason I don't care about this fight that much. I'm always honest with you guys. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, I'm so excited for this fight when I'm not excited for the fight. Miesha Tate, Ketlin Vieira, whoever wins is most likely probably getting the next title shot once Amanda Nunes starches Juliana Pena, if she in fact does. And Ketlin Vieira or Miesha Tate will get absolutely starched by Amanda Nunes. If Miesha Tate, I think French Fries is the one that said this to me, but it took the words right out of my mouth to take a phrase from GOAT. If Miesha Tate can't beat Amanda Nunes when Miesha was in her prime, she damn sure ain't beating her after 5 years off and then just 1-2 fights back. By the way, I mentioned it in the pre-fight video, but can you guys believe Conor McGregor and Miesha Tate both fought on UFC 205? And since that event, they both have the same number of wins in the UFC, which is 1. Conor has 1 win since beating Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205. Miesha Tate was retired for 5 years after that. How can you believe that? That's a startling fact. I said that in my pre-fight video. I'm just waiting for Leon to lose so he's forced to fight a real contender. Same position Colby and Jorge is in. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Leon needs to be forced. I just think he keeps taking these fights and people keep pulling out. Masvidal was a good matchup. Supposed to happen next month. Masvidal's already going on Ariel Helwani's show and saying, yeah, I want to coach the Ultimate Fighter with Colby and blah, blah, blah. You know, I feel like a lot of people were ducking Leon. Dana White tried to make Colby versus Leon last year. Colby didn't want that fight. A lot of people, you know, I feel like Leon Edwards gets too much flack. And it's not like I'm just saying this from a place of biased. You know, it's not like I'm the biggest Leon Edwards fan there ever was, but, you know, he gets way too much flack when he's not turning down fights as far as I know. You know, I know that we don't know everything, but he was willing to take on Colby Covington. We know that for a fact. He was willing to accept the fight with Khamzat Chimaev, that unranked contender, 3 times. He was willing to accept the fight with Jorge Masvidal when most people thought he was the deserving next contender. So, you know, I'm going to give him a pass, and I think he deserves the next title shot, just surely based off of he's had so much bad luck. It's not his fault. Exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth. I don't remember what I said when you sent that. For some reason, I don't think Usman will fight Leon. I feel like Usman might sit out and let Leon fight for an interim title against Luque, or maybe the winner of Khamzat versus Burns. Well, the problem for Leon, if Leon does not get a title shot next, the problem for Leon is if they do Khamzat versus Burns, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, and Khamzat goes out there and starches Burns, you best believe Leon Edwards is getting skipped over for Khamzat Chimaev. Unfortunately, but it's a business and the UFC would skip over him. And it's hard to deny. It's hard to deny that Khamzat Chimaev would have earned a title shot. I mean, you beat Gilbert Burns. I mean, that's better than any of the wins on Leon Edwards' current resume. So, as sad as that is for me to say. So, Leon better sign that paper, hopefully fight. Maybe Usman wants to stay active, fight in February, March. Yuri tweeted he wants the title, but we know it's going to be a while before Glover is ready. He wants a contender too. It sucks for me to say, but I think Yuri versus Smith is the fight to make. Ew, I don't want Yuri versus Smith. I want Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic if Yuri ain't fighting for the title. We have a lot of good prospects fighting this weekend. Sean Brady, Talia Santos, Adriana Yanez, Terrence McKinney, Fair Ziem, and Luana Pinheiro. All of them rookies look out for. I'm excited for Sean Brady. I'm excited for Adriana Yanez. I'm excited for Terrence McKinney. But this card is not, you know, I said it in my pre-fight prediction that, you know, the main event isn't that great. But as a whole, the card has some very compelling fights. A lot of up-and-comers, but I love to watch up-and-comers as well. You know, it's not going to be the craziest fight card ever as far as, you know, notable fights coming out of it. You know, if Adriana Yanez wins, it's not like he's going to be fighting for the bantamweight title anytime soon. But still, you know, you can see some of these guys, and Adriana Yanez is a guy who maybe I'm buying into the hype a little bit, but I mean, I'm sold on Adriana Yanez. I like his striking. He's young, he's fast. It's the bantamweight division stuff though, but I'm excited to see him perform. You know, I've had my eye on him for a while actually. Hello, Joey and friends. What's going on, Heights? I hope you were doing well. Usman said he wanted Luque or Leon next. I think that makes the most sense, and I think Leon gets it. She's calling herself Tate 2.0. What's crazy about Miesha Tate, and I know we've only seen her in one fight since her return, but what is she, 35, 36 years old? What I saw against Mariana Renault was the same Miesha Tate we've always seen. And that's why I picked against her this weekend. Let's see how old she is. Let me correct myself in case I'm wrong. I think she's like 35, 36. She's 35 years old. And she's the same fighter she's always been. She presses forward. She's looking for gritty wrestling and ground and pound. I'm not sold on her. You know, she couldn't beat Ronda Rousey, who, think of how much the sport has evolved since then. Mariana Renault was on her way out, you know, old, very old herself. Let me actually look how old Mariana Renault is. Let me just peep that real quick. Yeah, so she came in and beat a 44-year-old. I knew Mariana Renault was old. She came in and beat a 44-year-old up. And people are talking about like she should be fighting for the title next. Get real. Get real, guys. Yeah, I don't buy it, and that's why I picked Ketlin Vieira, even though I was very hesitant about picking Ketlin Vieira. This is what's going to happen. The winner of Khamzat versus Gilbert will fight Leon for a place to fight Usman for the title. I don't think that happens. I think if Khamzat beats... I think Usman fights Leon, Khamzat fights Gilbert, and if Khamzat wins, Khamzat fights the winner of Leon Usman. But that Khamzat-Gilbert fight, I'm not so sure the UFC is going to make it. That's a tough spot. I mean, that's the worst possible matchup in the welterweight division for Khamzat. Gilbert Burns with his great jiu-jitsu. I mean, I'm not saying Khamzat can't win, but I also think we need to pump the brakes on Khamzat a little bit. Do you think Khamzat and Edwards ever happens? Probably not unless Edwards gets the belt. But still, then Khamzat has to beat somebody like Gilbert Burns to then get a title shot. I'll say 50-50 on that, but I'm going to say probably not. Yes, it will happen after Khamzat destroys Burns. Okay, so let's talk about that. I put that in the title. Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. So this is a rumored fight. Apparently it's in talks. I haven't seen any super reliable source reporting it. But according to everything I've seen right now, is it looks like this fight's going to happen in January. Take that for what you will. It may not happen, but let's just talk about the hypothetical fight if it were to happen. First off, from a matchup standpoint, I absolutely love this fight. I think Gilbert Burns is the toughest test in the division other than Kamaru Usman. And I love the skill matchup of you have Khamzat Chimaev's dominant grappling and wrestling versus Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu, and then Gilbert Burns also has great striking. So it's the perfect test, and Gilbert Burns is ranked, 2, 3 maybe? I think he's 3. So if Khamzat beats number 3 and Gilbert Burns, he's right there for a title shot. But the problem begins, and again, I usually talk about it from my perspective, but to give you guys all the details that I possibly can, I always talk about it from the UFC's perspective. Because if we don't talk about it from the UFC's perspective, then, we can't come up with realistic, outcomes, whether or not this stuff happens or not. From the UFC's perspective, they look at it. They have Gilbert Burns, who just fought for the belt in February of this year. And then you have Usman, who's already been rematching everyone, it seems like. And he stopped Gilbert Burns, what was that, second or third round TKO? If Burns beats Khamzat, which is a very likely possibility, I'm not saying I'm picking Burns, but to act like it's a foregone conclusion that Khamzat Chimaev smashes Gilbert Burns, I think is absolutely crazy. And I'm actually going to talk about, I want to let you guys know, I'm 100% on the Khamzat Chimaev bandwagon. I'm on the train. I'm on the hype train. But guys, some of you guys are getting way too carried away. So Gilbert, let's say from the UFC's perspective, if Gilbert Burns goes ahead and beats Khamzat, which is very well possible, and if you say it's not, then you're denying reality. Then what? You're gonna have Usman rematch Burns, and it hasn't even been a full year yet. So I don't think the UFC probably wants to make that, especially they could make, and again, there's not any easy matchups. But they could probably make Khamzat Chimaev versus Neil Magny. I think that's a real possibility. I don't love that fight. I personally prefer the Gilbert Burns fight. Like, if I'm making the fights for me as a fan's perspective, I'm booking either Khamzat versus Gilbert or Khamzat versus Colby from a fan's perspective. That doesn't make sense for the business, but who knows? The UFC might make it anyway just because of who's available, who's not. You look at everyone else, no one else is really available right now other than Gilbert Burns. And not a lot of people want to take this fight, honestly, against Khamzat. So I hope that fight happens. I think that, Khamzat can very well win as well. But, it's not a foregone conclusion at all for Khamzat Chimaev just to go out there and spark Gilbert Burns. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I look at the welterweight division, and I know Khamzat Chimaev is making his way up. And I've said before, anyone that can keep it on the feet with Usman has a real chance to beat Kamaru Usman, because Kamaru Usman's striking isn't that good. Okay, so anyone keeps it on the feet with Usman has a chance of beating him. And Khamzat looks like he could be that guy. Now, with that being said, it's just the fact that people are saying that Khamzat is just going to walk over Gilbert or walk over Usman, I just think that's absolutely insane. But who knows? Maybe Leon beats Usman. Maybe Khamzat fights Burns and beats him, and then we get Leon defending his welterweight title against Khamzat Chimaev, and the MMA gods gave us something awesome. Um, yes, it will after Khamzat destroys Burns. Okay, we already talked about it. UFC just signed a new Russian super talent. I did see that. Who was that? UFC signs. It's some Magomed or something. I can't remember, but I did see that. Uh, Makhmed, was it Makhmud Muradov? Is that who they signed? No, that's not it. That's not it. Let me check real quick. I did see this though. It seems like an interesting prospect, and also the fact that it's at flyweight is very interesting. And I think he's only 21 years old, which is crazy. Mohamed Mokayev or Makayev. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for anybody coming into the flyweight division. The UFC really needs to put an emphasis on building the flyweight division. It's grown leaps and bounds the last 2 years. We're getting some great contenders in there, but still it leaves a lot to be desired. You got Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo, who's probably heading to bantamweight after he loses in January. If he loses in January, Askar Askarov, Alexandra Pantoja, Alex Perez, Brandon Royval. We got Cody Garbrandt making his flyweight debut at UFC 269. So we could be due for a superstar, but it's crazy a 21-year-old coming into the UFC. But I'm excited. I'm excited to hear it. What's the likeliness that Usman knocks out Leon? I'll say less than 10%. Don't pick against her. Vieira got mauled by Eubanks. Very true. Very true. I should not have picked against her, but I don't think Misha's that good. I think she beat up a 44-year-old, and I think Vieira will be able to maybe submit her. That's what I predicted. Second round submission or something like that. Am I right? I'm not mistaken. Leon only ranked win is against number 6 RDA. Vicente wasn't ranked at the time. Let's Khamzat beat Vicente or Burns. He get a shot over Leon. Yeah, but again, it's not Leon's fault. It's not Leon's fault that this has happened to him. So just respect the streak and give him the shot just because. Now, if he was turning down fights, he didn't accept the Masvidal fight. He didn't accept the Khamzat fight 3 times. He didn't accept the Colby fight. Could you imagine? You look at the Leon versus Khamzat scenario. They were booked 3 times. Khamzat pulled out twice. Leon pulled out once. If it was the roles reversed, everyone would say Leon was ducking Khamzat. Is anyone saying Khamzat ducking Leon? No. So he just had a string of bad luck. The time is right. Let Khamzat earn his title shot. You shouldn't get a title shot with the win over Li Jingliang. If they can book, let's say they book Burns versus Chimaev in January, which is what a lot of people have been talking about. You book them there, and then maybe you book Usman versus Leon and somewhere between February and April. Then they can be on the same time frame, So it can all work out for everyone. It can really work out for everyone. And maybe if Burns beats Khamzat, they can give Luque a title shot. The Burns fight is very tough, but it's the only one that will show us what he really is about. I agree. That's why I can't believe, and I talked about it a little bit before, I can't believe the people who are acting like Khamzat's definitely going to maul Burns. And I know people, Khamzat has a cult-like following. And again, I'm on the Khamzat train. But when have I ever been scared to actually speak my opinion? So let's be real right now. Khamzat mauled Li Jingliang, okay? It was a great performance. It was really dominant. Neil Magny beat Li Jingliang. I wasn't as dominant, but come on, guys. Come on. Think with your brain. I know we're all fans here, but to act like, don't get me wrong, it was impressive. The fact that he did it so impressively, he did it so fast. But calm down. It was Li Jingliang. It was a great natural progression from fighting nobodies to fighting Li Jingliang. But we need to see him fight someone in the top 10. Li Jingliang was taken down and controlled by Neil Magny. So come on, guys. Come on. Man, Gilbert Burns might spoil the party. He may very well. Spoil the party. And I may pick Gilbert Burns in that fight. Because Burns just ain't a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's one of those black belts. Yeah, he's one of those guys who can snatch up a submission in a heartbeat. If Khamzat beats Burns, he definitely gets a title shot, right? Without a doubt. That's why I said Leon better hopefully get that fight booked. Because if they wait and Khamzat beats Gilbert, then he's getting skipped over. It's also just stylistically, Burns might be the toughest fight for Khamzat, even though Khamzat can beat everyone else potentially. Yeah, I think it's the worst matchup for him of anyone. I think it'd probably be harder to beat Burns than it probably is to beat Usman, as crazy as that sounds. Pick a UFC future card. UFC Brazil with Glover versus Yuri, Nunes versus Tate, and Charles versus Beneil after Charles loses to DP. Or UFC Mexico with Moreno, Cejudo, Valentino Grasso, and Ortega versus Yair. I'll take Glover versus Yuri, Nunes versus Tate, and Charles versus Beneil. Moreno versus Cejudo is good. Valentino versus Grasso, Valentino's going to dominate her. And Ortega versus Yair is great, but I want Yair versus Zabit. And I know that's probably never going to happen. I know I'm getting way too carried away. I'm okay with living in this delusion. Khamzat is like nothing I've ever seen in my 15 years watching the sport. Dude, I think, and I know we all fall into this, but we gotta, people have to calm down. I mean, we don't know. Legion, think about Legion. It's just the hype, the media, the way Khamzat talks, the confidence. It builds this false delusion that he's some, crazy world beater, and he may very well be. I'm not saying that he's not, but it's just the perfect storm. If this was Kamaru Usman doing the same thing, nobody would even care. I mean, people would care, and I know Kamaru's the champion, so it's a little bit different, but you guys get my point. We got to calm down. If this was anyone else, it's just the perfect storm of hype and everything like that. The way he talks, the confidence. I'm just not ready to, act like it's going to be insane. If Khamzat has the power to KO Meerschaert, who's much bigger than Burns, he will absolutely ragdoll Burns. I don't know if he's going to want to ragdoll Burns because Burns jiu-jitsu and submission threat. But if he has KO Meerschaert, I think he has the KO power to KO Burns for sure. I don't know if that's what you were alluding to. I think Khamzat needs to keep it standing because what if Burns is able to sweep Khamzat at one point or submit him? That's the big threat. Do you think Poirier walks away after beating Oliveira and Gaethje fights Islam for the title? Absolutely not. I think Poirier is going to stick around. I think he has much left to do at lightweight. I think if he beats Oliveira, I think he's looking at a lot of great fights against guys that he may have already beaten. Justin Gaethje, he's already beaten. You think Dustin Poirier is scared to step in there with Justin Gaethje again? I know Justin Gaethje has said that recently. I don't think he said those exact words. And I think Justin Gaethje can win that fight. But the way Dustin fights, people don't give him enough credit because he really does try to limit the damage that he takes. He shells up. He fights relatively smart. I know he's in exciting fights, and he does take some damage. But, I think he's really getting into his prime this last year, 2 years. And I think if he beats he beats Charles Oliveira, I think he's going to be looking at a fight with Justin Gaethje. And then maybe a fight with Islam. Maybe that Islam fight isn't the greatest matchup for him, but Islam's striking is not the greatest. So Dustin Poirier, and then he's probably thinking if Conor can come back and get a win, I can defend my belt against Conor McGregor and get another payday and smash a guy that I've already smashed twice recently. So to answer your question, I know I just went into it a little bit long. No, I do not think Dustin Poirier walks away if he wins the title. I think I would be shocked if he did. UFC Brazil for sure. Do you think? Okay, I already read it. Joey, imagine if the UFC couldn't turn down fights and had to fight whatever the UFC gave you. Yeah, but I think it's all about timing. It's not, I know sometimes it is actually turning down fights, but it's more of the timing. Does it work out for you with your training camp and everything like that? But that would be crazy. Ew. Hank Hill, I just read your message. I didn't know that existed. Yeah, I never got all the hype over Misha, but I'm not even gonna read that. But what's going on, Hank Hill? I hope you're doing well. It would be a crazy card for sure. This is a risky take, but Khamzat might think twice about taking Burns down. It might cancel out and striking match again. I think he's got to be worried about the submission threat of Gilbert Burns. We have to worry. He's got to worry about that submission threat. It doesn't sound like Jorge would want to do tough. What pair of fighters would you like to see host tough? I'm not a big fan of tough. I used to watch it years ago. I think Jorge Masvidal probably will do it with Colby because the UFC will pay him and it'll draw some ratings for ESPN. but I'm not even sure I would be compelled enough to watch it. I mean, I think Colby versus Jorge Masvidal is a fake beef. I have a video about it on the channel. I think I'll give you a quick, the high notes of that video. I think Colby and Jorge manufactured this. I think they're still best friends. I think they decided, look, this is a great way to eventually get title shots. Masvidal, if you can get a title fight and you can win, then we'll fight for the title. If Colby can get a title shot and get a win, then we'll fight for a title. Now that they both lost to Kamaru Usman twice, now this is like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to fight for a title, so this is the next biggest fight for both of us, and now they're finally going to come together. But I think if the UFC is willing to pay him, I think he'll do it. Joey, how do you feel about Song Yadong guy? I love him. I think he has potential. I think he has real potential. I just think it sucks. At bantamweight, man, it's easy to get forgotten about. There's so many elite level 135ers that, it's easy to get passed up. There's just so many great fighters in the bantamweight division. I mean, even outside the rankings, I've talked about it before, there's great guys even outside the rankings. Song Yadong is currently ranked number 14. I think Song Yadong would probably beat Frankie Edgar. Maybe, maybe not. I think that's probably about where Song Yadong belongs. But he looked really good. He looked really good last week. So I'm excited to see where he goes. I love the bantamweight division. I really do. The bantamweight division is my favorite division. Look at it. Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, TJ Dillashaw, Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font, Jose Aldo, Merab Dvalishvili, Pedro Munoz, Marlon Moraes, Dominic Cruz, Marlon Vera, Rafael Sunsal, Frankie Edgar, Song Yadong, Cody Stamann, Adriana Yanez. There's endless talent at 135. People who I didn't even name because they're not in the rankings. I can't think of off the top of my head. But to answer your question, I'm always interested in seeing Song Yadong perform. What's up, Baz94? Would you rather see Tony versus Conor or Conor versus Chandler? I love both matchups, but I would love to see Tony versus Conor. I'd like to see Tony get a big fight. He deserves it. People are dancing on his grave. He's been around forever. He's put on nothing but exciting fights. And I'd love to see if he could weather that early storm against Conor McGregor. Because imagine a Tony Ferguson versus Conor McGregor that gets to the third or fourth round. Tony Ferguson's going to be walking him down. Conor's going to be taking deep breaths, and we'll see. We'll see who really wants it. I would love that fight. I thought Chaos Williams was 34. He's only 27. Definitely higher on my list of must-watch prospects after beating Baeza. Chaos Williams has looked incredible. I can't remember for sure, but I thought that he beat Alex Pereira in his last fight before was this? No, it was 2 fights ago. I thought he won that fight. I thought he got robbed of the decision. I can't remember for sure, and then his KO of Hassan was absolutely brutal. He has that KO win over Alex Morono. So I think Chaos Williams is a very interesting prospect to keep an eye on. And I'm a huge fan of the way he fights. I mean, I remember when they booked that Alex Pereira versus Chaos Williams fight, I was super excited. Now, we have to see, and it's not like at least I can't remember thinking back as far as his takedown defense. I'd be curious to see how his takedown defense is going to hold up. But he definitely should be high on your list. If you're not watching Chaos Williams, you need to reevaluate. If Rob Font beats Aldo by finish, how many more fights does he have before a title fight? Good question. So if he beats Jose Aldo, then we're going to get Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. Then the winner of that fights Dillashaw. I think Rob Font could probably sit out a little bit and get the winner of... he probably has to fight one more time. He shouldn't necessarily have to, but just because of the division right now, we got two title fights already at bantamweight. But I wouldn't mind if Rob Font beats Jose Aldo, and let's say Yan versus Sterling isn't happening till February, March. TJ Dillashaw wants to fight early next year. Book Rob Font versus TJ Dillashaw for the number 1 contender. I doubt Dillashaw wants that, but I don't care what Dillashaw wants. I'd love to see that. Guys, keep putting questions in the chat. I greatly appreciate it. If you guys want to support the channel, you can now become a member of the channel. The link is in the description. And now we have a members-only Discord chat where you guys can message me directly. We got the custom emojis in there. We got the loyalty badges. And also I post behind-the-scenes stuff. If you're a member of the channel, you already knew I had this microphone about a week ago. It doesn't cost very much, and it's just a way to support the channel. And once you join, even if you join for 1 month, you'll never be kicked out of the Discord chat. So you'll be in the Discord chat forever. When I'm not streaming fight nights, we'll be messaging back and forth in the Discord chat. So if you guys want to become a member, the link is in the description below. And guys, do me a favor, don't forget to like the stream. It really helps push it out to more people, and hopefully we add more people to the community during this stream. Do you think Colby and Masvidal retire soon now they've lost twice to Usman? I think Colby's going to stick around. Masvidal, maybe. But I think Masvidal is going to be one of those guys that's just fighting forever, even if it's in Bellator or wherever else. But Colby, I think Colby's still kind of young, isn't he? So Colby could be the future of the division after Usman leaves. You know, if Usman retires. Let's see. Let me look that up. Yeah, Colby's actually 33, so he's actually older than I anticipated. So I don't really see him retiring super soon. I mean, he's 2 years younger than Usman. I think Colby will stick around for a bit. I think the beef is half fake. Colby took things really far. I'm sure George wants to take his head off. I don't believe that. It's very well possible, but my personal opinion is no. I just know how it is. And if you followed their story for a while, they were the best of friends, the absolute best of friends. And I know with me and my best friend, there's nothing, even in today, not faking a beef. And I know it's not like we're MMA fighters, but even without faking a beef, there's nothing that's off limits between us. We can say anything we want about each other. I'm sure they're thinking the same, and they say, look, the more extreme this beef gets, hold on a second. The more extreme this beef gets, the more money in our pockets. So I really think that they're probably just faking it. Maybe something really ticked them off. I think they're going to be friends forever. I think they'll be hugging after the fight and everything like that. And to be honest, I don't really care if it's fake or real. I'm not a big fan just because I feel like it's fake, so it doesn't attract me as much as it attracts others. But I love the stylistic matchup. That's another. Can Jorge Masvidal keep it standing and use his striking on his opponent? Similar to the Ben Askren fight in a way. So what's next for Merab, and do you see him differently after almost getting stopped by Marlon? No, I don't see him differently. I think, he's super durable. I guess Merab, I think I did a video on what's next for Merab, but there's not a lot of great options right now with the way division's logjam. Maybe he could fight Rob Font or Jose Aldo winner. Ooh, I hate to see Merab versus Jose Aldo in a 5-rounder. I don't want to see that at all. But, a chin can only take so much damage, so you never know. That could end up eventually coming back to bite him and screwing him over. So to answer your question, no, I don't look at him differently, other than the fact that I was very impressed with the way he pulled off that victory. Islam versus Chandler should be next. I want Islam versus Beneil Dariush, to be honest. That's what I want. Islam versus Beneil Dariush. The winner of that fight fights the winner of Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. Winner fighting Gaethje, if that makes sense. So once the winner of Dustin or Oliveira fights Gaethje, then the winner of that fight fights the winner of Islam versus... Oh, I was thinking Islam versus... Okay, I was already saying Islam versus Beneil. You said Islam versus Chandler. But I'd love to see any of these fights. I mean, I want to see Islam tested. I know that he's... that was a good win over Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's coming in on short notice. I'd love to see Islam versus a legit top 5 with a full training camp. They keep giving Chaos banger matchups with guys that will fight him on the feet. He needs to fight a wrestler next. I agree. There's been a lot of compelling matchups for Chaos, but I think it's time to see him test it. Chaos broke his hand in that fight and coasted the last few rounds. Okay, Chaos versus D-Rod is the fight to make. Dana says Chaos deserves top 15. Chaos Williams versus Daniel Rodriguez would be phenomenal. I never even thought of that matchup till you said something. That's a great idea. The hardest part about doing these streams, I swear, my mouth gets so dry talking for so long. But what's next for Tom Aspinall? Does he get a top 7 next? I thought he had a fight. Does he not have a fight? Tom Aspinall, I think he's fighting Shamil Abdurakhimov. I can't ever pronounce his name right. Tom Aspinall versus Shamil. Let's see if that's accurate. Yeah, they're fighting. They're fighting March. Supposedly they're fighting March 19th. Damn, that's a ways away. So I like his future in the heavyweight division. Athletic, fast. You know, I don't know how he hangs against the top of the division, but we'll see. Why didn't they just add Burns versus Chimaev to UFC 269? It makes so much sense. They may very well still do that. Only time will tell. But I'd love, you know, especially after losing Masvidal versus Leon, I would love. Maybe that's what they're working on right now. You know, as soon as if I see that news, I'll be right on here making a video. But I would love Khamzat Chimaev versus Burns added to 269. And 269 could use the boost too. You know, I love the main event. Nunes versus Pena doesn't really get me all that excited. But should Ali Quinta retire? Without a doubt. Without a doubt, Ali Quinta should retire. Wonderboy wants to fight Nick Diaz, and so does Jorge. Why do they want to take advantage of Nick? He's old and he doesn't got it in him no more. They see a big payday and they say a stylistically friendly matchup. It's disgusting. It's annoying, but it's just naturally going to happen, you know, in the sport. Hey, Joey, how old are you? My guess is 24. I am 28 years old. Without this beard, I look like I'm about 17, though. If I shave... We know what's crazy? I used to, every once in a while, I used to shave my beard completely off. But now that it's like my trademark, you guys wouldn't recognize me without it, so I don't shave my beard anymore. Do you find Bilal as cringe as I do? I don't know why. I do not like Bilal Muhammad. It's not like I have anything against him. I don't care for his fighting style. I don't care for his personality. One thing that really rubbed me the wrong way is that he was talking about Leon versus Nate, and that he would have done this to Nate or that to Nate, and then look at his fight with Damian Maia. It was awful. So Bilal, I'm not a big fan. I think he's overrated. Honestly, he's not elite of the elite. And you know, I think we'll find out against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson next month. Hint: Wonderboy Thompson's going to outwork him. But I don't really listen to him so much, so I don't know how cringe he is, to be honest. It's really hard. I've talked about this before on the live stream, guys. It's hard for me to make all this content and then also pay attention to what's going on. As far as, you know, interviews, you know, other MMA content, videos, stuff like that, because I'm too busy working on this. I read, you know, some of the articles that get posted, breaking news, stuff like that, but it's hard to keep up on everything. So I don't know how cringe Bilal it really is. D-Rod is fighting Magny. Chaos should fight Price. I love both those matchups. How do you see Charles Oliveira winning? If I had to guess, he hurts Poirier. Poirier looks for a clinch or a takedown and gets submitted, if I had to make a prediction right now. Do you like Dan Hooker versus Gregor Gillespie? I don't like it for Dan Hooker. But Gregor Gillespie, yeah. What's next for Rosenstrike? He doesn't have a fight. Rosenstrike doesn't have a fight. Does Jairzinho Rosenstrike have a fight? Let me take a look. I thought he might have had something. He doesn't have a fight next? He lost to Curtis Blades last. No, he doesn't have a fight, apparently. What's next for him? Maybe Alexander Volkov? I don't know if Alexander Volkov has a fight. I'd love to see Jairzinho versus Derek Lewis, but Derek Lewis is fighting Chris Daukaus. He just fought Curtis Blades. He's not fighting Stipe, I don't think. So really Alexander Volkov, and I don't think they've ever fought. Let me just double check that. No, let's match him up with Alexander Volkov. Let me see. Does Alexander Volkov have a fight? It's hard to remember all this. Nope, Volkov just fought. Yeah, he fought at 267 against Tobora. So yeah, I think Volkov is probably next for him, but we'll see how long he wants to sit out after a loss. We'll see. Rachmanov Sharat, who is he going to fight? I don't know, man. There's always so much talk about him, but he hasn't fought in forever, has he? Let me look that up, actually. Shavkat Rachmanov. Yeah, he hasn't fought since June of this year. Before that, he fought October of last year. I don't think he has a fight on the UFC in the UFC right now. What's crazy is that man is always talked about in the MMA community, especially above of the hardcores. He's from Kazakhstan, so he's going to of course get hype. Welterweight division, 14-0, but he doesn't even have a Wikipedia. I went to ShareDog and I usually look at Tapology. But he doesn't even have. I didn't notice the Wikipedia didn't even come up when I searched for him. But hopefully he gets a nice step up in competition. Yeah, Chimaev versus Burns for 269, Diaz versus Luque for 270. I love both of them. I want to see Tuivasa again. Tuivasa, actually, they just announced Tuivasa versus Augusto Sakai. I want to say they just announced that. I just saw it recently. Let's see who it is. It's Augusto Sakai. Oh, no. Apparently it was canceled. Rebooked. Tai Tuivasa versus Augusto Sakai is rebooked for UFC 269. Because they were originally supposed to fight not that long ago or recently. Rachmanov should fight the Leech. That makes sense. What's your favorite personality in each division? Look at that random question. Great question, my friend. Favorite personality in each division. Flyweight has to be Brandon Moreno. I love that guy. Bantamweight, and also I'm not a big fan of these absorbent personalities. Bantamweight, I really like Jose Aldo. I know people would say he doesn't really have a personality, but he's just so humble and such a nice guy. How can you not like him? Featherweight probably has to be Max Holloway. You just gotta love the way Max Holloway is. Lightweight, probably Justin Gaethje or Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's just an oddball. Justin Gaethje, just because that man truly loves to fight. A lot of these guys, and I'm not blaming them or anything. They're here for the money. That's what they're here for, prize fighting. And I'd be the same if I was them. But Justin Gaethje's a guy who's not only there for the money, he loves it. He loves it. Welterweight, Khamzat Chimaev. Middleweight, I guess Israel Adesanya. Light heavyweight, favorite personality. I feel like Yuri, probably Yuri, but we haven't seen too much of his personality come through. Heavyweight, I don't feel like anyone has a personality at heavyweight, to be honest. So I can't even pick someone at heavyweight. And strawweight, probably gotta be, I don't really know. Maybe Rose, but I'm just flyweight, definitely Valentina. Bantamweight, I don't really care about any of them as far as personality goes. I think they're all bland. I don't even have a particular one that I really like. I guess heavyweight you could throw out Tai Tuivasa just because he's an oddball. Or Derek Lewis, but Derek Lewis kind of irks me sometimes, so I don't even want to say him. I know a lot of people find him hilarious, but I don't. Biggie Boy Volk versus Volkov should be next. Yep. Rosenstrike versus Volkov. Rosenstrike versus Volkov will probably be made. Yeah, it makes sense. Gregor versus RDA should be UFC main event year. If RDA wins, should welcome McGregor back. That makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people are still clamoring for that McGregor RDA fight. I love that. He's a killer. Shavkat versus Zaleski dos Santos makes sense. I'm down. What fight is more competitive, Jones versus Gane or Jones versus Ngannou? I'll say Jones versus Gane, but I think both of them are very competitive. Jones, Joey, nobody wants to fight him. Who's one fighter you were never a fan of, but now are a fan of that fighter? Who was a fighter that you were... There's got to be one, but I can't think of it. Who was I never a fan of, but became a fan of later? I don't know. I know there's one at least, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'm looking through these names and just nothing's. Most of these people I've liked for quite a while. I know I've only had a YouTube channel for a very short period of time. I've been on the Charles Oliveira hype train for literally like 2 or 3 years now. Through the ups and downs, I thought he had what it took, and him versus Habib was my one of my favorite potential matchups that never came to fruition because Charles Oliveira was never even considered. Who was I never a fan of, but they eventually grew on me? I don't know. But great question. Thank you for the questions. Keep the questions coming, guys. I appreciate it very much. Haha, I'm 52, kid. I watch your channel because you are knowledgeable. This sport is so hard to keep track of. Fighters only fighting 1 to 2 times per year. Yeah, it's hard. It's actually even hard for me. Trying to be very knowledgeable in the sport, it's so hard. It is so hard. There's so many fighters. But luckily, I don't come on here and try to pretend I'm somebody I'm not. Right now, I keep track of as much as I can. But if somebody asks me a question, I'm like, I can't remember who they fought. I can't remember their last performance. I'm just honest. I'm not pretending I'm excited for fights that I'm not excited for. I won't be scared to say an unpopular opinion. So you guys know, I am who I am on here. I'm not trying to pretend anything. But it's very hard to keep track. But luckily, I keep track as best as I can, and then you can watch me and hopefully get refreshed on what's going on. But I get it, man. It's hard. One thing I really want to get better on is I try to watch the prelims for every event, but just sometimes I don't have time. But I'm really trying to get better at watching all the prelims just so I can be more familiar with every fighter. But still, even when I watch them, it's like so. Even when I come to do the post fight, I'm like, how am I supposed to remember everything that happened? But thank you for being a supporter of the channel, Meridian Heights. I appreciate you. I think. Okay, apparently Adam's message got flagged. That's hilarious. I think Michael Chiesa needs to fight against Michelle Pereira or Colby Covington next. What about you? Depends if he wins or loses. Or is Michael Chiesa Khamzat food? I would actually love Michael Chiesa versus Khamzat Chimaev. That's a matchup that I've wanted for Khamzat for a while, actually. 185, Kevin Holland, best personality. Sure. Who else at 185? Let's see. Yeah, there's really no one else. Ugh. You're probably right. At least I don't see right now. Derek Lewis, personality hands down. Derek Lewis, best personality. Fun fact, I'm actually friends with Derek Lewis on PSN. I think I played him in Madden a couple years back. What up, Joe? Been a minute. What's going on? What's going on, dude? Swag boy. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Vittori. No. You hate O'Malley now, but you will love him one day. I don't even hate O'Malley. What I hate is the people that unrealistically talk about O'Malley. Okay? Now, I give you my opinion mixed in with some facts. So when I talk about Sean O'Malley, I say he's untested. He's never beat a ranked fighter. He fought Marlon Vera, and he got his leg chopped off, and then he got flash KO'd. Then he was stretchered out with no injury. That's all facts. Now, the fact that he's unproven to me doesn't matter. I will be the first, when I actually believe in it. That's what a lot of people are confused about. This channel is my opinion mixed in with some of the facts of the situations. Why would I lie and say I believed in this guy or not and this and that if I don't? I love watching Sean O'Malley fight. I think he's a very interesting bantamweight prospect, and I think he has some potential to be a future top 10 guy. But right now, it's hard to say. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, I'm for sure, when I'm not. What I've seen in the Marlon Vera fight, people act like Marlon Vera got the doors blown off. Marlon Vera slept that dude. It was a flash KO by elbow, but he slept that dude, and people are in denial about it. And then the fact that Sean O'Malley comes out and says, oh, I was getting ready to beat his ass. And I know he's partially trolling, But he partially believes that too. You know, I know he writes it off as he's trolling, but that stuff just annoys me. And it doesn't even annoy me with O'Malley. It annoys me more with his cult-like following. And that's why I go after it. It's almost like an inside joke. You know, it's an inside joke between me and you guys. Because I say these things, they're true, but they really get the cult-like following riled up. And they're like, why do you need to mention that? He got stretchered out with no injury. It's hilarious. But who knows? One day, if O'Malley's, you know, the champion or a contender, he's fighting all the best guys and he's just wrecking them, I'll be the first. And I already love seeing Sean O'Malley fight. That's why I'm disappointed he's not fighting better competition. The hype by the fans is unreal. The talk by Sean O'Malley is unreal. The promotion by the UFC is unreal. He can get these fights, but he's not. And I think he missed a massive opportunity to fight Frankie Edgar, and I would have picked Sean O'Malley to beat Frankie Edgar probably. I can't say for 100% certainty, but I probably would have. Lyoto Machida. Lyoto Machida has always been one of my favorites. For me, it's Usman. Hated him, but now I respect him as pound for pound number one. I never been, you know, for me, I love watching Usman fight, and for me, it's more or less not about how these guys act. It's about, do I love watching them fight, and that's really what matters for me. Usman, Vettori, and Volkanovski all earned so much respect this year. Agreed. Name top 3 fighters who the best battery. What are you asking? What are you asking, Adam? Vera took his shine. Yeah. Carla or Rose in the rematch? I'll go Carla in the rematch. From what I seen on 2 weeks ago, I'll go Carla. But who knows? Do you think there's going to be an O'Malley versus Vera too? Depends. If they can both make their way up the division, it may be one of those things like Conor McGregor, Dustin too, where it happens 4 or 5 years from now when they're both towards the top of the division. Marlon Vera is looking very promising. And, you know, Sean O'Malley looks promising. We'll see. He's fighting Raulian Paiva. And the other problem I have with the way people took the matchup with Raulian Paiva is they act like Raulian Paiva is some world beater. Don't get me wrong. He's a decent fighter. But what these O'Malley cult-like following, what they were doing there, is they were singing the praises of Raulian Paiva. Oh, Raulian Paiva is 21-2 or 21-3, and he's so great, and he's an elite fighter. And the reason they were doing that is not because they truly believe that. It's because they were already lifting Paiva up. So then when O'Malley goes out there and dusts him, they can say, what a great win by Sean O'Malley. What a great win. That's what they were doing. They didn't really believe in Paiva. Paiva's a decent fighter who probably should have lost to Kyler Phillips, which is nothing to be sad about. But again, it's just not the matchup that I wanted. And this is my YouTube channel where I say my opinion about MMA, and that's not the matchup I wanted. So I don't get why people have a problem with that. And then the fact that I call out that you're elevating a guy, so when the guy you like beats him, you can be like, oh my God, it was so great. I can call it out because I can see that a mile away. That's what people are doing. And they were already hyping up the fact that Paiva was, oh, he's ranked number 15. What more do you want? What more do you want? He's ranked number 15. Well, guess what? He's not ranked number 15 anymore. So, enough of that. Vera versus Merab prediction. I think Merab absolutely mauls Marlon Vera. Absolutely mauls him. We saw he had issues. He was being held down by Frankie Edgar. What do you think Merab is going to do to him? Is the video of Conor pacing back and forth in front of his TV with his arms, with apples under his armpits, shirt off, and cackling like the Joker, the cringiest thing you have seen in a while? I say yes. Embarrassing. And what's even more embarrassing is how the MMA media eats it up. Like, they were posting that shit everywhere. It was almost annoying. You couldn't scroll on Instagram. You couldn't scroll on Twitter. You couldn't scroll on MMAfighting.com. These people, as in the MMA media, it's not all of them, obviously. They will cling on to anything that draws in attention. And Conor talking shit about every fighter every Saturday night draws them attention, and they just have to do it because of his name. I wish everyone would have ignored it. I personally did not care at all. Super annoying and irrelevant to the sport. Conor is broken. He's injured. He has won one fight since 2016. One fight after he took 2 belts. He won one fight. He has as many wins as Miesha Tate since UFC 205 ended. And Miesha Tate retired for 5 years. Come on now. And again, I know some of you guys may disagree with me here, but that's perfectly fine on some of my opinions on Conor or O'Malley. But that's why we have this discussion here. Money Boy, Pretty Boy, All-Star, and Culture Genius. They can't do it like me, earning and sinning. Okay, thank you for being a member. Yes, guys, if you become a member, you get every month that you're a member, you get a super chat like message to send in a live stream. So thank you for being a member. I guess you're the guy that's always changing his name, so that's who I'm assuming you are. What three fighters have the highest pace? Max Holloway is probably number 1. And if you guys want to become a member, the link is in the description. Go become a member. And you can message me directly on Discord. We're going to be talking about the fights live. Whenever I'm not streaming the fights, we'll be talking about them on Discord. And you'll never be kicked out of there. So highest pace, definitely Max Holloway. Who is number 2 highest pace? Probably Tony Ferguson, maybe. I know people are dancing on his grave. I'll say Tony Ferguson in his prime. And I know there's probably someone I'm forgetting. I'm sometimes it's hard to, off the top of my head. But I'll go Colby Covington. So Max Holloway, Tony Ferguson, and Colby Covington, 3 highest paces. Which fighter do you think who's in the top 15 that you think is the fighter gets a push, they can give a champ a tough fight? Let me take a look. Who do I think could give the champion a tough fight? Well, let me read that again. Which fighter do you think who's in the top 15 do you think is a fighter that gets a push, they can give the champ a tough fight? Max versus Daniel Cormier 2030 prediction. I'll go Max. Let's see. Who could give them a tough fight in the top 15? Let me go. Okay, this is going to sound crazy. I think there's a lot of people who could beat Glover Teixeira. Paul Craig, I think, could beat Glover Teixeira. He's number 11. So there's a random one I threw out. Yeah, I think Paul Craig can beat Glover Teixeira if he were to get a title shot. That was a sweet entrance. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for being a member, my friend. Thank you. And Marab. Oh, Marab does have a nasty pace. Marab has a very nasty pace. So, before we go, because I throw this title out there, and then, sometimes we talk about all of it, sometimes we don't. Holloway Rodriguez. Let's talk about that. It was last Saturday. What a performance. And I know I talked about this in my post-fight. What a performance by Yair Rodriguez. Who expected him to come in there and potentially win a 5th round against Max Holloway? Also, I talked about this in my post-fight as well, but I put it in the title, so I want to reiterate it here a little bit. Max Holloway's too defensively irresponsible. I mean, he takes a lot of damage. I know that's a topic that people are really discussing now. But if he continues to take the damage he takes, he's still very young. What's he going to be like at 32, 33, 35 even? I don't like to see it, but he's very defensively irresponsible. And eventually, one of these days, that chin is going to go. That body is going to give out. Very, very sad. I hope it doesn't happen. I would like to see him shore up his defenses. But what a great fight. I mean, Yair, he was chopping those legs. The kicks were lightning fast. I know Max won the fight, won the decision, but I don't think Yair's stock went down at all. I would love to see Yair versus Zabit, Yair versus Ortega, and he could be right back on track, right back on track to a title fight. Even after that loss, not that this would happen, and this makes absolutely no sense. If for some reason they booked Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez next, I'd be hyped. So Yair's stock goes through the roof. And then on top of that, the fact that was coming back after a 2-year layoff, incredible. Incredible performance by Yair. Max always putting incredible output, putting it on guys, but I just wish I wish he would tighten up that defense a little bit. Yeah, that was. What about featherweight? What about featherweight? Which fight? Oh, okay, what about featherweight? Is what you're asking for the push? Giga Chikadze. I am all aboard the Giga Chikadze train. And if they announce Volkanovski versus Giga Chikadze right now, I may even pick Giga. Movsar Evilov, or however you pronounce his name, I don't remember. I need to refresh myself on how to pronounce his name. Is a very interesting prospect as well. Joey, you're the best. Yair's a total stud. What do you think Max would need to do to win a rematch against Volk? I don't know, man. It's like he needs to up the volume against Volk because the volume is not there, but it's because Volk's doing things to negate that. So I don't know what he does, but he needs to land more shots, but he's worried about Volkanovski's power. And also, if Yair can take Max down, Volkanovski, that path, that wrestling may be a path to a more dominant victory for Volkanovski. Is Umar Nurmagomedov ever going to fight again? Maybe. Hopefully. I don't know, though. I can't answer that one. I would assume so, but you never know what's going to be going on with him. And everything that's going on right now with him. Giga Train, woot woot. Yeah, I think a lot of people are on the Giga Train. I mean, I am a big believer in Edson Barboza, okay? And for him to do what he did against Edson Barboza was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I'm high off Giga Chikadze. I think he can beat Max. I think he can beat Volkanovski. I'm not saying I would pick him to beat those two, but he can definitely beat those two. Okay? Would definitely be competitive. It's not far-fetched to say it. He's looked super impressive. And Edson Barboza is an elite fighter, an elite striker. He went out there and outstruck him. Giga Chikadze, the sky's the limit for him at featherweight. Before we go, one last thing, because it's in the title as well. UFC 269. Let's talk about the card a little bit more. We've already talked about it. Oliveira versus Poirier. Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. Kai Kara France versus Cody Garbrandt. Sean O'Malley versus Raulian Paiva. Jeff Neal versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Alex Perez versus Matt Schnell. Randy Costa versus Tony Kelly. Ryan Hall versus Derek Minner. Pedro Munoz versus Dominic Cruz. And this is not in a particular order. I'm just reading it off Tapology. Josh Emmett versus Dan Ige. Who doesn't love that fight? Josh Emmett's been out for a while. Andre Muniz versus Eric Anders. That could be a coming out fight for Andre Muniz. I believe he's coming off that win over Jacare Souza. Augusto Sakai versus Tai Tuivasa. I love this fight card. It sucks that Masvidal versus Leon isn't still on there. But Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier is going to be phenomenal no matter what. And the thing for Oliveira is, if he gets hurt in this fight, Dustin Poirier is not going to let him off the hook. He's just going to be pouring it on until the ref stops it. But Charles Oliveira is super technical, has great submissions, great jiu-jitsu. So he could, I'm probably picking Charles Oliveira in that fight. But that's a very competitive lightweight fight and one of the greatest lightweight title fights in a while, in my opinion. Well, guys, I think that about does it for this live chat. I might do maybe a Friday stream or something like that. I hope you guys enjoy the upgraded quality of the channel with the new microphone. Any breaking news happens, I'll be making videos on it. Do me a favor, guys. Do not forget to click the like button down below. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps push out the streams, and push out the videos to more people, and we can grow the channel. Thank you, everyone who subscribed to the channel. I greatly appreciate you. And enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you guys for coming in. Worst case scenario, next Wednesday, I'll be doing another live chat if I don't have any streams in between there. So thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your night. I appreciate all of you.